Hi, I'm Lidia Pretorius. I'm a disability inclusion consultant, and I'm popularly known as the Disability Mojo Life Coach. This month is Disability Rights Awareness Month, and we really thank the August Weekend for creating this platform for us to engage and to see how we could do more and how we could work better to support people with disabilities to thrive. People often ask me, why should we do something to help another person thrive? And I want us to go back briefly to what disability is, because I think therein lies the secret. Traditionally, in the olden days, and sometimes even today still, we see people with disabilities as somebody who cannot do something, as having an inability. Person who cannot walk, person who cannot talk, person who cannot hear, person who has challenges psychosocially. And we think that that one inability constitutes the totality of the person. Instead, we should also look at what they can do, what they are good at, and which we as society prevents them from doing. Let me give you a simple example. If you think of a person using a wheelchair, let's say an architect. He is skilled, he's qualified, he's experienced. If he needs to enter a building where his practice is, and that building is inaccessible, doesn't have an option for him as a wheelchair user to get inside, needless to say, he's not going to be able to lead his practice. He's not going to be able to contribute in the manner in which he should. Has he, however, had an office in the building next door, which do not have stairs going in, which has a ramp or which just simply doesn't have stairs, there wouldn't have been a problem for him. So, where does the disability lie? Does it lie in the person using the wheelchair who cannot walk, or does the disability perhaps lie in how we lock that person out of the economy, out of our schools? And that is why, as a society, as a community, we can do more to create an environment in which people with disabilities can participate, can belong, and can thrive. So let us very briefly look at what can we then do as an ordinary citizen, as a neighbor, as a member in the same place of worship, as a teacher, as a school principal, as a parent who has children enrolled in the local school. And I think there's a few things that come to mind that doesn't cost anything and that's really easy to do. First thing is, we need to show compassion. Not empathy, compassion, because compassion demands action. It says, I feel with you, I see you, and I want to do something about the situation. The second thing that I think is really important is that we act in solidarity. In other words, in Afrikaans we say, ons sukkel saam. If I have a child enrolled in the local school, I owe it to my child without a disability to ask the school what their approach, their policy, and the measures are that they've put in place to welcome children with disabilities into their school. And I'm saying this, that I owe it to my child without a disability. Because where else would my child be exposed to and have the opportunity to understand diversity in its broadest sense? Where else would my child have the opportunity to learn about compassion and empathy and solidarity? Where else would my child, who might have a personality that wants to be part of an environment in which he or she can make a difference, in which they can thrive, if we do not create that environment filled with diversity for them to thrive in? So that brings me to the third action, and that is speak up and speak out. I last week in a webinar called on the private sector, and I said to them, for as long as it is only people with disabilities that bang on the doors of government to put measures in place, to create policies and to create laws that protect them and that promote their full participation, we are not going to change the narrative for them. 27 years after democracy, very little has changed. Yes, there has been progress, but very little has changed. Because as a society, we left it to a dialogue between government and people with disabilities. Instead of us saying, what agency do I have? If I'm not free, nobody is free. If a person with a disability is free, nobody is free, including me. So what have I done? How have I used my agency as a CEO, as an HR official, as a captain of industry, as the private sector, when I have the chair around the table in which decisions are made? Have I spoken up about the fact that I would love to employ people with disabilities because I see the contribution they can make? But regrettably, it's not possible for them to take up employment with me because of the cost of their transport, because of the cost of their disability. Because the moment they get really employment that really doesn't pay much, they lose their disability grant, they lose free healthcare, they lose that security, and yet their disability costs rise. And the tax rebates they can get doesn't make up for it. So rather than taking up gainful employment, the risk for them is too much and they stay at home. As an employer, if I have engaged with my employees with disabilities, I would understand these challenges. Do I then stand up and say to government, I have agency, I'm a captain of industry, I'm a CEO. In saying to government, we demand as business that you do more in putting measures in place that make it easier for people with disabilities to participate in the economy. Speak up, speak out. If I'm a parent who has a child in the local school and I see discrimination happen in front of me by having to climb 4 stairs to get to the principal's office, and there are no other alternative, I should not even only think of the children who is not welcome there, but even parents who have disabilities who might not be welcome there. If I receive correspondence from the school and it is not readable as a PDF in which I can, in other words, cut and paste from it, I should be speaking out and speaking up and say, but if I can't engage with this in a manner that I can use it, how would a parent who is blind that uses a screen reader be doing that? If I have a child in a school and he tells me there's a child in his class who has a deaf parent, I need to speak up and ask the school, if this parent comes to a parents' evening, how will the school engage in an equal manner with that parent? If I go to my favorite shop in the neighborhood, I'm asking you, take a look. Is there designated parking? Do the shop where you shop, has it got easy access? Do they have a clear policy in place, visible to anybody, for anybody who needs assistance? Whether it's a person with a disability, whether it's an older person, whether it's a mom with a disabled child, whether it's a blind person with a guide dog, do they have a clear, visible guide to say to customers with disabilities how they can ask for assistance in a dignified and enabling manner from that shop? After all, the 100 Rand in their purse is valued at exactly the same amount as the 100 Rand in my purse. What we are asking is that we look beyond charity, that we look beyond handouts, that we look beyond empathy, but that we ask for compassion that leads to action, that we ask for solidarity in action. Speak up and speak out. Doesn't cost much. If you feel awkward around people with disabilities, you are not going to speak for them. You are not going to speak to them, and you are not going to engage with them because it makes you feel awkward. That awkwardness vanishes like into the thin air when you make contact. Never feel scared asking your questions. Ask it in a manner that is dignified and that is respectful. And I can assure you, 99% of people with disabilities will be too happy to inform and empower you and make you so much wiser. My personal experience, 30 years working with the sector, is that disability is like a joyride. It's like a big dipper. It's got its ups and its downs. It's got its thrills and it's got its desperations. There's never a boring moment. But the greatest thrill of all of them is knowing that my solidarity in action, that my compassion with action made a difference to somebody's life. And I think if this year during Disability Rights Awareness Month, this is all we remember, that we reach out to that person in our church or in our mosque, and we say to them, introduce yourself, engage, make contact, reach out. Solidarity in action, compassion with action, speak up and speak out. You can get hold of me on my website, through my website, which is www.disabilitymojocoach.co.za. I will also be dropping the contact details in the chat box, in the messages section. And please, if you have any questions, if you would like to engage in terms of how you could create opportunities for people with disabilities, if you would like to engage on how could you do more to create an enabling school in which your child without a disability is also exposed to and has the opportunity to realize their full potential and bring their mind, body, spirit, and soul together in that diversity, please reach out. What we want you to do is when you switch off your computer or your phone from this chat, go out and make an action. I thank you.